Welcome to our deep dive into the mysterious concept of nowhere. Today, we're going to explore the intriguing and often abstract idea of what it means to be nowhere. This concept has been a topic of fascination in various fields, from philosophy to literature, and even in our everyday language. So, let's embark on this journey to nowhere and discover the depths of this seemingly simple, yet profoundly complex idea. The philosophical perspective. In philosophy, nowhere is often synonymous with a state of non-existence or a place that defies the traditional understanding of space. Thinkers like Plato and Descartes have pondered over the existence of such a space, debating whether it's a physical realm or a state of mind. This segment will delve into how philosophers have grappled with the concept of nowhere and how it challenges our understanding of reality. Nowhere in literature. Literature is replete with references to nowhere. Authors like Lewis Carroll and J.R.R. Tolkien have taken us on fantastical journeys to places that exist beyond the known world. In this segment, we will explore how literature uses the concept of nowhere to create magical worlds, and what these imaginary places tell us about our own world. The linguistic interpretation. What does it mean when we say we're going nowhere? In this part, we will examine how the term is used in language and culture. Often used to signify a lack of progress or direction, nowhere can have both negative and positive connotations. We'll explore these different uses and how they reflect our attitudes and beliefs. Nowhere in modern media. From films to virtual reality, the concept of nowhere has been a source of inspiration in modern media. Movies like Inception toy with the idea of nowhere as a dreamscape, while VR technology attempts to create immersive experiences of non-physical spaces. Here, we'll discuss how contemporary media interprets and utilizes the concept of nowhere. Psychological aspect. Finally, we'll delve into the psychological interpretation of nowhere. This concept can be linked to feelings of disconnection, isolation, or freedom, depending on the individual's perspective. We will explore how the idea of being nowhere can affect our mental state and how it's used in psychological practices. Nowhere in science fiction. Science fiction has always been fascinated with the concept of nowhere. Whether it's through the creation of parallel universes or dimensions beyond our comprehension, sci-fi explores the endless possibilities of what nowhere could be. This segment will look into how science fiction portrays nowhere, from wormholes to other dimensions, and what this tells us about our understanding of the universe. Nowhere in everyday life. Interestingly, the concept of nowhere often finds its way into our everyday lives. From the feeling of being stuck in a rut to the escape we seek in our daydreams, nowhere can be a refuge or a prison. In this part, we'll discuss how the notion of nowhere manifests in daily experiences and the impact it has on our lifestyle and decision-making. Artistic representations of nowhere. Artists have long been depicting their versions of nowhere through various mediums. From surreal paintings to abstract sculptures, these representations challenge viewers' perceptions and invite them to interpret nowhere in their own way. This segment will explore how artists conceive nowhere and what their interpretations say about the human psyche. Nowhere in mythology and folklore. Mythology and folklore are filled with references to mysterious lands and hidden places that could be described as nowhere. These stories often serve as metaphors for the unknown, the unexplored, or the spiritual journey. Here, we'll delve into how different cultures interpret the idea of nowhere through their myths and legends. The future of nowhere. As we advance in technology and our understanding of the world, the concept of nowhere continues to evolve. This final segment will speculate on the future of nowhere. Will advancements in space exploration and virtual reality redefine what we consider as nowhere? We'll explore the potential future interpretations and implications of this enigmatic concept. Nowhere in psychology and self-reflection. Psychologically, nowhere can be a space for introspection and self-discovery. It's a mental state where one can detach from the external world and dive into the depths of the self. In this segment, we'll explore how the idea of nowhere is used in therapeutic practices and self-help methodologies as a tool for mental clarity, healing, and personal growth. The geography of nowhere. There's a geographical aspect to nowhere as well. It often refers to places that are off the map, unexplored, or considered insignificant. However, these nowhere places hold their own unique charm and mystery. This part will take us on a journey to some of the world's most remote and uncharted places, exploring their beauty and the lessons they offer about solitude and the human spirit. Nowhere in music and sound. Musically, nowheres can represent a state of transcendence or an escape from reality. Musicians and composers have often used this theme to convey feelings of longing, emptiness, or ethereal presence. We'll delve into how different genres of music interpret and communicate the essence of nowhere through sound, rhythm, and lyrics. Nowhere as a cultural phenomenon. Culturally, the concept of nowhere has been embraced differently across societies. In some cultures, it's a place to be avoided, associated with loss or aimlessness. In others, it's a coveted state, synonymous with freedom and endless possibilities. This segment will examine the cultural interpretations of nowhere and how they reflect societal values and philosophies. Nowhere in personal growth and philosophy. Finally, we'll discuss nowhere in the context of personal growth and modern philosophy. This segment will explore how embracing the concept of nowhere can lead to personal evolution, helping individuals break free from constraints and explore new horizons within themselves and in the world around them. Nowhere in environmental studies. In the realm of environmental studies, nowhere can represent unspoiled, pristine environments untouched by human activity. These rare, often remote locations provide crucial insights into the natural world and our impact on it. This segment will explore the significance of these untouched areas, what they tell us about biodiversity and ecological balance, and the importance of preserving these nowhere spaces. The role of nowhere in innovation and creativity. The concept of nowhere is a powerful catalyst in the fields of innovation and creativity. It represents the blank canvas, the uncharted territory where new ideas and groundbreaking inventions can emerge. In this part, we'll discuss how thinking out of nowhere has led to some of the most significant advancements in technology, art, and science. Nowhere in historical context. Historically, the idea of nowhere has been used to describe lost civilizations, forgotten places, and unrecorded events. It's a space filled with mysteries, waiting to be uncovered. This segment delves into how historians and archaeologists approach these blank spots in our understanding of the past and what they reveal about human history. Nowhere in urban and architectural design. In urban planning and architecture, nowheres can refer to spaces that are intentionally left undefined or versatile. These are areas designed to evolve over time, adapting to the needs of their users. This part will explore the concept of flexible, adaptive spaces in urban design and how they contribute to the dynamism and resilience of cities. Nowhere in human relationships. In the context of human relationships, nowhere can symbolize the ambiguous spaces we sometimes find ourselves in with others. It's the undefined, often uncomfortable, territory where relationships are not clearly delineated. This segment explores how navigating the nowhere in relationships can lead to greater understanding, growth, and sometimes the need for closure or redefinition. The economic dimensions of nowhere. Economically, nowhere can represent unexplored markets, untapped potential, or economic dead zones. This segment examines how businesses and economies deal with the concept of nowhere, whether by pioneering into new markets or revitalizing stagnant areas. It's a look at how the economic nowhere can be transformed into spaces of opportunity and growth. Nowhere in health and wellness. In health and wellness, nowhere often refers to a state of limbo in one's health journey, neither progressing nor regressing. This segment discusses the challenges and strategies of dealing with this plateau, the importance of mental and emotional health in these phases, and how sometimes being in nowhere can be a part of the healing process. The educational perspective of nowhere. In education, nowheres might signify the gap between traditional learning methods and the rapidly changing educational needs of the modern world. This part delves into how educators and institutions are navigating and filling these gaps, creating learning environments that are more adaptable, inclusive, and relevant to today's diverse educational demands. Nowhere in the quest for sustainability. As the world grapples with environmental challenges, the concept of nowhere becomes significant in the quest for sustainability. This segment explores how the pursuit of sustainable practices often leads us into uncharted territories, requiring innovative approaches and a rethinking of traditional methods in order to create a sustainable future for the planet. The existential aspect of nowhere. Existentially, nowhere can be a profound concept that prompts questions about our place in the universe and the meaning of life. This segment examines how existential philosophers and thinkers have approached the concept of nowhere and how it relates to our search for purpose, identity, and understanding of our existence. Nowhere in digital and virtual realms. In the digital age, nowhere takes on new dimensions in virtual and digital spaces. This part discusses the creation of digital nowheres, virtual environments, and online spaces that exist outside of physical reality. It's an exploration of how these digital realms are reshaping our interactions, our perceptions of space, and our very notions of reality. Nowhere in globalization and cultural exchange. Globalization has created cultural nowhere spaces where traditional cultural boundaries are blurred and new, hybrid identities emerge. This segment explores the impact of globalization on cultural identity, the emergence of global subcultures, and how cultural exchange in the age of globalization is creating spaces that are both nowhere and everywhere at once. The ethical implications of nowhere. Ethically, nowhere can represent the gray areas we encounter in moral decision-making. This part discusses the complexities of ethical dilemmas where right and wrong are not clearly defined, and how navigating these moral nowheres is crucial for developing a nuanced understanding of ethics in a complex world. Nowhere in personal narratives and life stories. Lastly, nowhere in personal narratives often symbolizes phases of uncertainty, transition, or transformation. This segment reflects on how personal stories of nowhere times, when direction or purpose was unclear, can be periods of significant personal growth, self-discovery, and eventual emergence into clarity and purpose. Nowhere in the context of aging and time. The concept of nowhere gains a poignant dimension when viewed through the lens of aging and the passage of time. This segment reflects on how our perception of time can lead to feelings of being nowhere, especially as we age and face the inevitabilities of life. It explores the existential and emotional implications of this relationship between nowhere, aging, and our perception of time. Nowhere in political and social discourse. Politically and socially, nowheres can symbolize the state of liminality or transition between old and new ideologies, or the lack of representation for certain groups. This segment delves into how political and social movements address the concept of nowhere and how it influences policymaking, social justice, and the collective striving for a more inclusive society. Nowhere in the realm of fashion and trends. In the world of fashion and trends, nowhere is often the birthplace of innovation. This part examines how the fashion industry uses the idea of nowhere breaking away from the mainstream, defying norms to create new trends and redefine beauty and style standards. It's an exploration of how the ephemeral and ever-changing nature of fashion reflects our collective journey through nowhere. The role of nowhere in adventure and exploration. Adventure and exploration are inherently tied to the concept of nowhere. This segment explores how the pursuit of the unknown and the journey into uncharted territories whether geographical, spiritual, or intellectual, embodies the human spirit's endless curiosity and desire to discover nowhere places. Nowhere in the context of mental health and therapy. In mental health and therapy, nowhere can be both a challenge and a therapeutic goal. This part discusses how feelings of being stuck or lost emotionally or mentally in nowhere are addressed in therapeutic settings. It explores the strategies used to navigate out of these states and how reaching nowhere can sometimes be a necessary step in the healing process. Nowhere in the evolution of communication. As communication evolves, especially in the digital era, nowhere takes on new meanings. This segment discusses the impact of advanced communication technologies that connect us instantly across the globe, creating a sense of being everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. It's a look at how these advancements are reshaping human interaction and our sense of presence. Nowhere in culinary arts and food culture. The culinary world often ventures into nowhere to create groundbreaking dishes and flavors. This part explores how chefs and food enthusiasts use the concept of nowhere to push the boundaries of traditional cuisine, experimenting with new ingredients, techniques, and fusion of culinary traditions to create innovative gastronomic experiences. Nowhere in sports and physical endeavors. In sports and physical activities, nowheres can be a state of flow or a plateau of performance. This segment looks at how athletes and sports enthusiasts deal with the concept of nowhere, whether as a mental state of complete immersion in the moment or as a phase where progress seems to stall, and how they overcome these challenges. The intersection of nowhere with sustainable development. Sustainable development is increasingly focused on creating solutions for places that are metaphorically nowhere neglected, underdeveloped, or vulnerable areas. This segment explores how sustainable practices are being applied to uplift these areas, ensuring that nowhere becomes a place of opportunity, growth, and environmental harmony. Nowhere in the journey of self-actualization. Finally, the concept of nowhere is profoundly relevant in the journey towards self-actualization. This last segment discusses how experiences of feeling lost or being in transitional phases, personal nowheres, can be catalysts for profound personal growth, self-discovery, and the realization of one's fullest potential. Nowhere in the world of entrepreneurship. In entrepreneurship, nowhere often symbolizes the initial stage of starting something from nothing. This segment examines how entrepreneurs embrace the concept of nowhere as a creative space where ideas are born and nurtured. It delves into the mindset of turning a nowhere idea into a tangible, successful business venture. The influence of nowhere on language evolution. Languages evolve and adapt, often creating linguistic nowhere's words or phrases that lose their original meaning or gain new ones. This part explores how languages transform over time, how new dialects and slangs emerge from these nowhere spaces, and the cultural significance of these evolutionary processes. Nowhere in the world of gaming and interactive media. In gaming and interactive media, nowhere can be a virtual landscape, a narrative device, or a conceptual challenge. This segment looks at how game designers and media creators use nowhere to craft immersive experiences, engaging storylines and thought-provoking scenarios, pushing the boundaries of interactive entertainment. Nowhere in nonprofit and humanitarian efforts. Nonprofit organizations and humanitarian efforts often focus on nowhere places areas that are marginalized or overlooked. This part discusses how these organizations identify and address the needs of these nowhere areas, bringing attention, resources, and hope to the people living in them. Nowhere in the context of global travel and tourism. In the context of global travel and tourism, nowheres represents off-the-beaten-path destinations, places that are less traveled but rich with undiscovered beauty and culture. This segment explores the allure of these nowhere destinations, their impact on travelers and local communities, and the evolving trends in the travel industry. The role of nowhere in contemporary art and expression. Contemporary art often ventures into nowhere territories, challenging conventional aesthetics and concepts. This part examines how contemporary artists use nowhere as a canvas for expression, pushing the limits of creativity and inviting audiences to engage with art in new and unconventional ways. Nowhere in space exploration and astronomy. In space exploration and astronomy, nowheres takes on a literal meaning as the unexplored reaches of the universe. This segment delves into the human quest to explore these cosmic nowheres, the discoveries made, and the implications of these explorations for our understanding of the universe and our place in it. In conclusion, the exploration of nowhere through these 15 segments reveals its multifaceted nature. It's a concept that spans across various disciplines, influencing our art, culture, psychology, and even our everyday lives. The idea of nowhere invites us to question, reflect, and seek out the unknown, both within ourselves and in the world around us. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to leave your comment.